Okay, well, hi everyone, and thank you very much for watching or listening. Liam Hartery back with you today, and I'm delighted and blessed and honored to welcome a very special guest today. And I will also, very quickly, so I don't forget, bow to this man for joining us because today's guest does some incredible work of service to all of humanity within the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. He is a life coach, leadership expert, spiritual mentor, youth counselor, and more. Living and working in India, speaking to us today from Boston. We'll find out more about that very shortly. And we'll be sharing some tips for you, the viewers, on how to live a more spiritual and fulfilled life. So today's guest, Acyuta Mohan Das, hopefully I'm pronouncing that the right way, but apologies if I'm not. And it's wonderful to welcome you to the show today, my friend. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Okay, now one topic I would like to mention actually, we were just talking about your name, and it's a lovely meaning behind it, as you were just telling me before we started recording. Would you mind mentioning that briefly for our viewers to begin with, please? Thank you.
Oh, yeah, sure. Thanks, Liam, first of all. And I'm very glad to be here. And yes, this is our ecstasy to be of any service in sharing the spiritual messages we have received in our lives. So, as for my name, so my legal name is Aditya Mittal, which is there on my passport. And in our spiritual life, there is this beautiful tradition of offering a spiritual name. So this name typically is like something Das. So Das means servant. So servant of that something. That something is usually the name of the Supreme Lord. So in my case, it is Acyuta Mohan Das. So Achyuta means that master who never fails in protecting and loving his servants, in reciprocating with the love offered by his servants. So that is the name of the Supreme Lord, who is also known as Krishna. And Mohan means one who is all attractive. He's attractive to Indians, Americans, he's attracted to males, females, poor, rich. He does not discriminate on any material basis. All he looks for is sincere intent and a bit of love for everyone. Yeah. So I'm his servant. I'm trying to be his servant.
Wonderful. Well, as I mentioned to you, my friend, before we started recording, I do feel that name is very suitable for you, if I may say so, because you serve so many people in such a beautiful way. So that is absolutely wonderful. And I just wanted to start with that because it's a wonderful meaning behind it. Now, as I mentioned to you, and also for our viewers, just so they know as well, we'll be talking partially about your own life and partially about some of the bigger picture, if you like, of spirituality and things people can do. But I really do feel that people will be curious to know what started you off in all of this in terms of what drew you to the spiritual life and where it began. So if you'd like to go literally to the beginning and where you were born, or if you'd like to start a little bit later in terms of where you started with this movement, I don't mind. But your beginnings in spirituality would be lovely to hear about. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Liam, for that good question as well, because it it gives me a flood of memories of how the Lord and many other people on this planet have been very kind to me in my life. I had a very good, very fortunate childhood. I was born into a very cultured family in the central India, and believe it or not, but like my family had around 100 members or so living together as one family in one home, one kitchen. So there were like four generations of like cousins and many others. And there was this concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in Sanskrit, which means just like I call someone as my brother because I have a common father, or I call someone as my sister because I have common parents. Similarly, when we acknowledge and recognize God to be our common father, friend, mother, and everyone, our best well-wisher, then the entire world actually like becomes our family. So this concept of joint family in the Vedic times or in ancient India, this was based upon unity by by keeping together the goal of life, the spiritual goal of life, the culture of life. And And when we are united, we can be so strong actually in being resilient to the forces of nature and to the challenges of life. Just like, take for instance this hand. So each finger is not that strong. It can break when I, like, if I strike the finger, individually, onto something. But if my fist, just five of them, they come together, they can take away someone's life. Of course, I'm not that strong, but yeah, it can, right? So the idea is that in unity there is great power, and when we are united with a common center, we become a community. You know, common center, unity, we become a community. So Vedas say, the text, the divine text of the East, they say that let the entire world be like a single family or a community, with a common center as God, and with the common purpose of loving and helping everyone to reach the ultimate spiritual perfection of life while being happy in this world. So I was in such a family, and I saw like everyone was given a lot of dignity. We had like 30 acres of farm. We had almost a 10 acres of, you know um, like a place for animals. So we had rabbits, we had dogs, we had cows, we had many other animals, and our parents and everyone, they used to love them. So overall, the values which I received from my family members and my elders, and that culture there in that environment, were amazing, were so pure. When my mother used to cook food and I used to ask, like, can I eat it? As a small kid, my mother would say, first, you should go and give it to the animals, the cows, the rabbits, the dogs. Then can I eat it? Okay. Now you should go and give it to the birds. So my father had made some special places on the terrace, and then would go and then, can I eat it now? Now go and ask on the streets outside our home if there are some beggars or hungry people. Because God has given us a life of privilege, okay, a life of richness. So we should share it with others, share and care. Can I eat it now? Okay, now you should share it with the elders first. First, you ask them. Those are like grandparents and all. So the culture which they gave actually to protect the environment, to care for the mother nature, and especially for all living beings, to be respectful to them. That was such a pure life. So it led me to, you know, also think about others in the world, that others who are not having this life, they should also experience it. They should also have the joy. They should also have the purity. But I saw that many of them were not having it. And when I would ask about the roots of this culture, or about the logic behind this culture, or like many such questions, or who are we, what is life after death, and like many such questions, why do good things happen with bad people, why do bad things happen with good people, what about other planets, okay, what about ghosts, so many questions, as a small inquisitive child. But I did not get many clear answers. Okay, I would get some, but not all, because my folks were cultured, but they themselves were not clear of everything, at least not scientifically. So then I tried many religions. I practiced many parts of spiritual life, many types of, different types of yoga systems during my teens and during my early college days. And after a lot of such going around, and I appreciated Jainism, I appreciated Buddhism, I appreciated Christianity, I appreciated many other new age religions which I got in India through different spiritual organizations. But then still my yearning for finding a path which would answer all my questions, and which could actually give me give me a blue a blueprint or a roadmap in which I can help transform the society in my humble capacity. I can assist. So then it was in my undergrad days, in my first semester, that I came across the teachings of Srimad Bhagavad Gita given by Srila Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada of International Society of Krishna Consciousness. I still remember it was 11th of August 2004 that the greatest good fortune in my life began. And I saw that all the wonderful essence of and the results of all the good culture and good teachings of all the other religions and many spiritual paths and of humanity itself were included already in this path shown by Lord Shri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. And so, because of the grace of those practicing this path, I got their association. I got involved, and I found that all my talents and abilities, my inclinations, and my very own nature, my natural nature, could be engaged in the service of society through this. And when I shared this, when I tried to share this message with many in the society, especially the younger generation, the teenagers and youths, because I felt for them as I had lived a life like that. So I found the greatest fulfillment in their joy. And that's what has been driving me since last 20, 21 years. So
Wow.
I chose this life of monkhood so that I get maximum freedom in time, free from other family responsibilities. Not that I did not have other opportunities. I had the best of the opportunities, thanks to the Supreme Lord. I just found myself more drawn towards this. This was the calling of my life, probably. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wonderful description. Thank you so much, my friend, for describing that because it's so vivid as you were saying that I really felt like I was there for moments in time. And also what's really good about that is it makes the spiritual path relatable for people, especially if there's people out there who are not sure kind of which way to go and everything. It shows that now people look at you and everything you're doing. And I know that you're very humble when I say this, but people look at you up here and people know that you started not knowing which way to go and you found the right path, as you say, through God's will. So I think that's a wonderful topic to start off with. Now, shortly we'll progress into some spiritual topics, but I think also people will be fascinated about the shall we say, the initiation into monkhood or the process you have to go through of renunciation. I've spoken to a number of people about this and different traditions, Buddhism and so forth. And I find it fascinating because even though, as you say, this is your calling, I can feel the joy from you now, by the way. It's still a very big decision to make to leave everything behind, as you were saying, with family responsibilities. So again, I'd like to talk about that time and what that was like for you, how it works within the International Society of Krishna Consciousness as well, for anyone who does know, which includes myself because I don't claim to be an expert, by the way, in that particular topic. So please, if you could share a little bit about that, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, see, Liam, how it works out is that, just like you see um, any software or any app, for instance. So, most of them are available for free, right? You use them for like 3 days or like a week or so, and then it asks you to pay. Okay. Or sometimes what they do is they say, okay, you can use it, but only some particular feature. And if you want to get like full feel of it, a full experience, then you go for the subscription. So then we pay something upfront, right? Similarly, in spiritual life, as long as like we are just trying it out, okay, we're just getting into it, like we're just entering, or you can say like a layman entering, like an amateur playing with it. So it's available for everyone. It's like it has no commitment, nothing. And when a person becomes very serious, okay, so then now he wants like the best mercy of the Lord. He wants like the best of the opportunities to serve the Lord and to serve the society. He wants higher realizations. He wants to make spiritual life not just a part of his life, but his primary thing in life, his central thing in life. Not his only thing in life, but definitely a very important thing in his life. So then what happens? Because it's like a whole experience of the greatest joy. So there is a little cost attached to it, which is actually for our good. What is that price? It's not something material. It is a commitment. It is a commitment asked for the lifetime. Would you like to follow the vows of purity, that you won't indulge in sins like unnecessary intoxications, okay, and any kind of illicit uh, relationships like outside the wedlock, not like inside the wedlock. It's totally all right. It's to procreate the next generation. So that is considered dharma, or within the codes of conduct. And one should not unnecessarily harm other living beings, you know. And one should not unnecessarily speculate or lie, or indulge in any sort of such thing, you know, any unnecessary stuff like that. So a life of dignity and life of respect to others, respecting all living entities. Mm. So when we just take vows of such pure life, and we also take vows of that every day I'll offer at least a couple of hours in my spiritual practice, just like a musician practices every day, just like a scholar practices or reads every day. Okay, just like a cook, he has to also keep his skills sharpened. Similarly, just like we charge our electronic items, laptops, mobile phones. Similarly, we also keep in touch with the Lord by chanting His holy names, by reading the scriptures, by hearing about Him, by reading about His teachings, by visiting the temple and doing worship. Simple things. So at least a couple of hours in 24 hours. You know. So with this little commitment, we are offered something called initiation. You know, and that is irrespective of someone who may be monk, someone who may be a family man, okay, someone who may be senior in age, or a very young boy in age, or a young girl in age. Someone may be from Hindu background, or a Muslim, or a Christian, or a Jew, or anyone for that matter. You know. So this initiation process is just like a commitment or a sign up that, you know, I'm there, and I really want to like make my life spiritually perfect and want to offer as best as possible some service to the society. So that's all. It has no dollars involved in it. It has no membership card or any kind of material parameter of qualification involved in it. Nothing of that sort. It's just a spiritual commitment, which which opens up our path to lot of blessings. It's like an official acceptance by the Supreme Lord, you know, through his devotees. I hope I answered your question. Like,
Absolutely, absolutely you did. And thank you so much again, because as I've already mentioned previously, the relatability, and particularly with today, I'm aiming this very much at people who are discovering their path and they're still not sure which way to go. So it's very, very useful, and it's wonderful, as I mentioned, with more than 20 years you said there that you've been of service so far. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And with that subject in mind as well, this is quite a big question, so I apologize in advance. But when we were speaking earlier before we were recording about your work in Boston currently, and the how receptive the students were, and everything of that nature, I'd imagine you've been traveling widely and teaching for many years. And really, my question here is, obviously you are a vessel of selfless service. So in many ways, it's not about you personally, because it's God. I mean, it's coming through you. But there still must be personal feelings that you have of the joy and of the wonder that you feel when people are progressing in their life, when people are becoming better vessels of service themselves, however you define that. And really, I'd like to talk about perhaps if there's any favorite moments that you have where you feel that you've touched people's lives in a very special way. Maybe there's too many to count, so I acknowledge that. But also just how you personally feel when you see people progressing and becoming, I don't know if to say better people, but certainly more fulfilled, more meaningful people. I'll put it that way. And how you feel about that personally, if that makes sense. Thank you.
yeah, that does. Yeah. So I can share like a couple of things maybe. Yeah. Although by His grace, the Supreme Lord Krishna has given me thousands of such experiences. You know, I feel truly like a more fortunate person than even any president of any country, because I find my life very valuable. You know, otherwise I was not much of a useful person. I feel I was just another citizen. Okay, but now I feel that my life is truly valuable, because it's like it's like a pistol has no value. You know, it is useful when you put a bullet inside it. So bullet has a great capacity to, of course, kill someone, or um, destroy something, but it requires a pistol to be activated. Similarly, the spiritual life or the divine principles, when they're channelized through a sincere soul, okay, So even his life becomes useful. So I'm just like that actually. Like a pipe, and the water passes through the pipe. The water belongs to the water tank or the water reservoir, like river or something, and it goes to the tap or some people. But because the pipe agrees to be a medium of service in the middle, it also gets cleansed in the middle. Yeah, so that's like that's me. So so yeah, the some of the special experiences I can share with you, Lam, that till now in last 20 years, um, I could be of service to like around 70,000 youths from India and some from other countries. And most of them, uh, they gave up the habits of intoxication. They took a vow to not hurt other human beings and animals unnecessarily. And they took a vow of not going uh, not going for illicit affairs outside wedlock. And just a few of them also, dedicated their life, like I'm trying to do here, for the service of the society. So if you consider, like, for an average American, okay, in his 72 years of lifetime, there is a statistic that around 800 animals are killed for an average American, like for the clothes, like fur and leather jackets and all, for many things, right? And for meat products, many other ways. And the planet is harmed, like, in the sense of carbon footprint and all. Now, you just consider like thousands of people going for a life which is very organic for this planet, which is a minimalistic life. Okay. Uh, so, and which is a life of service to society. So what happens is, you can just imagine the impact on the environment, on the planet, on other living beings, and it saves many families, I believe, because if we agree to not go for any affairs outside marriage, and they've all agreed to become agents of love, God's love, by sharing the message of Gita, Bible, by sharing the message of the great sages of the past. And in that process, I have seen many hearts being transformed. I have seen people who were addicted to drugs. There was this one boy who was into the best, one of the finest medical schools of India. He was from a great family, but he had spoiled his mind with drugs, his body with drugs, and his mind with, many other uh, self-destructive habits. And he was into multiple affairs, and he actually wanted to commit suicide. Okay, and I remember, like, he came looking for some spiritual shelter. And then I just requested him 6 months, 6 months of his time. And I said that if it does not help you, you'll have my blessings to go ahead with suicide. So of course I didn't mean that, but in the sense, like, I needed to convince him. And then he said, yes, Prabhu, 6 months is all yours. Now you tell me what should I do? And then I requested him to follow the process of chanting the holy names of the Supreme Lord. Like, we have this chanting of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Very simple, you know. And, I requested him to, like, once in a while come to the temple, take association of those who are practicing spiritual life, and also in his holidays to visit some holy places, and have pilgrimage and offer some seva while pursuing his studies and, going ahead with his career. He did that. And what is the result? Today, like 4 years down the line, he's now married. He's a very well established doctor, practicing doctor in India, and he's very happy. And I remember he was telling me, Prabhu, I want to put your big picture in my home. And I'm so thankful to you. I said, Prabhu, if you're really thankful to me, the best would be you put a big picture of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Why? Because we are mortal people, I'm also with you in the same. We're like brothers or friends, But, all glories to him whose holy name and whose holy fame, made this transformation happen actually. So I was just like a postman, but the check came from him. So he was like, so you see, like, I've had many such experiences, till now, of seeing people having transformations, not just negative to positive, but even neutral to positive. What do I mean by that? Like, they say empty mind is devil's workshop. So I've seen like people having time, energy, okay, talents, abilities, money, okay, or even fame and influence, but they do not know what's the goal of life beyond earning your daily bread and beyond getting a home or something, raising your kids. What next? Like, so even animals are doing, Mahabharat says, Ahara nidra bhai maithunam cha samanyam etat pashubhir naranam dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubhi samana. It says that if we are also doing simply eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, then animals are also doing that. It's nothing special being a human being. Okay, we are doing it in a little more sophisticated way. So, what's the goal of our life? Do we have a goal? Do we have a dream which doesn't allow us to sleep? In the sense that, a dream beyond just gathering our daily needs of life, a dream not for just ourselves but for others, a dream which is driven from selfless love, which is driven from inspiration, which is aimed at the which is aimed at the joy of everyone in this universe. So then, I saw Prabhu in my life, my dear friend Lam. I saw in my life so many people getting and sharing their dream. And now I have friends in so many countries. Sometimes I get frustrated. So many friends, I can't handle the communication. It's a very positive thing. They ask me, what has God given you till now? Last 20 years you have been rubbing off the beats, chanting his names and reading all these scriptures. Have you got the spiritual world? Have you got the heavens? I said, I've got better than that. Why? While being here, I've got the essence of the God's kingdom. What is that? I've got selfless relationships where I want others' welfare, and I'm so happy for them when they advance, they become happy, and they are so happy for me. And together we want to increase this, isn't it? So a life of no envy for others, a life where you see your joy in others' joy and your pain in others' pain. There has been one poet, a saintly poet in India, in the western part of India in Gujarat. So he sung this song, okay? It's called as Bhajan. So he said, Vaishnava Jana to tene kahiye re, pीड़ पराई जाने re. He says, a real saint is one, a real devotee of God is one who considers others' joy as his joy and others' distress as his distress. And even the further meaning of the song, it can make us cry. Even an atheist, a hard-hearted man will cry when he hears the feelings of a person who's a saint, true saint, any religion, any country he may be, he or she might be from. Why? Because when God touches our heart, the heart becomes pure, you know. Just like when you touch electricity, the socket, you also become electrified or electrocuted. Anybody touches you, it's the same effect. You put iron rod in a fire, like big fire kiln, like so. The iron rod also becomes like fiery, as long as it is in the touch of the fire. You touch water, you also get cleansed because the nature of the water is to cleanse, you know. Or you even touch your mobile with the water, the mobile's data also gets cleansed. Because the nature of the water is pure. Similarly, the nature of God is pure and it's love. So, to the degree we actually heartily and regularly associate with Him with the pure intent, we can experience the same, especially by chanting His names. And so, same experience I have seen, like even a simple and a not so qualified person like me can become a good instrument in the hands of God, and God can do wonders through it because He is very capable. So yeah, Hare Krishna.
Wow. A beautiful description again, my friend, and your eloquence with these things is wonderful. I must say as well, what you were saying there about, if you touch the water, you cleanse, and these things you're saying, I feel that from you, and I feel that in your presence. And to be honest, I know that. you do great work and everything, but you can always tell when you sit with people from the feeling that comes from them. And I can imagine from people being in your presence, by the way, they feel that sensation because I personally have. Now, my question for you, following on from what you were saying there, especially what you said about raising us above the animals, because you're probably aware of this, but I'm British originally, and the culture we come from, some of the things you said there with intoxication and fighting and promiscuity and all of that. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a way of life, sadly, for many people growing up. Now, I'm lucky in the sense that I had spiritual parents, and so that did help a little bit. But when you're surrounded by that, you see that it doesn't bring anybody happiness, it doesn't lead anybody anywhere. So when I was growing up, I always felt out of place, thinking, okay, why is all of this stuff going on? And at the end of it, you meet the older people and they'll say, don't do it. It got me nowhere. So my question for you is, in the world today, there seems to be an epidemic of some of these things, including the fact that people have a lot of material success, but they are very unhappy. So when I was younger, I'd worked with a lot of, you know, wealthy and famous people, famous athletes and millionaires, and they have everything supposedly on face value, but inside they're not happy people. There's so much of that in the world now, and so much of the media sadly pushes it on people. By that, I mean the Western um, sort of celebrity culture, shall we say. What are some steps that people can take to change that in the sense that to break down the I'm going to say this from the way I see it, it's like a disease, spreading in the Western world where people go after things they think will make them happy, but they don't in the end. And I'm sorry about the light, by the way, the sun is actually setting here where I am. It's our evening. But anyway, so that question is some simple steps that people can take, even if they haven't felt the presence of God yet, some steps they can take to start to change that direction, because the more people change that direction one by one, the more it changes our society, as you know, because that's what you're doing. So if that makes sense, I would like to talk about that topic a little bit, please. Thank you.
Yeah, very sensitive question, surely. In the Bhagavad Gita, in 15th chapter to be exact, 6th and 7th verses, they talk about the very foundational principle of spiritual life, which is who are we? It says that life is sacred, be it an Indian life, an American life, a European life, an African life, or be it a human life, be it animal life, you know, a poor, a rich, uneducated, educated, anyone. So they say that we are spirit souls, and we are there in this body, which is like a car or like an apartment, and our karma is like the currency, just like you have a buying capacity for a car or for an apartment, and accordingly you buy one and reside there. Then you can always change later. Similarly, our karma is our buying capacity, and then in various lifetimes we get these different bodies. Okay, now how we use these bodies is totally our free will, and our future is dependent upon that. Okay? One amazing thing about the Bhagavad Gita is it says life is not just sacred. All the souls are not just sacred, they're part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So intrinsically, they're all fully pure. Yes, 100%. Everybody on this planet is 100% pure. And we can see in that in our aspirations. Even the dirtiest criminal, okay, in this world, he's an innocent child inside his heart, somewhere in the core of his heart. When you scratch that surface, which is like a dirt covering his consciousness, for some temporary period of time. When you scratch that surface, you find a budding lotus trying to bloom, but somewhere it got confused or carried away in the waves or the currents of selfishness in this world. Originally, he was not like that. Just like the rain droplets, pure water comes through the medium of rains. But as soon as it touches the ground, mixes with the dirt, it becomes muddy. But the water is still pure. Right now, it is muddy. Agreed. What is the proof that the water is still originally pure? As soon as the sun evaporates, that same water from the mud, the pure water comes back. It is not changed, you know, like the H2O, chemically speaking, H2O, the chemical bonds between the two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom, they have not changed. They just got covered over with dust. Similarly, when the spiritual light and the warmth of the love of God touches the heart of the living entities who are right now covered over with lust, anger, pride, envy, illusion, you know, the selfishness per se. So, so when the warmth of the love of God, when the light of the spiritual knowledge touches those living entities who are trapped in that muddy atmosphere of this material world, it helps them to rise above, as pure as they were ever. So this process of reconnecting with the Lord, or uh, getting separated from those contaminations we have acquired, which are foreign to us, that process is called spiritual life or yoga. And there can be different types of yoga systems as given in the scriptures, or you may name it as different religions. But any true religion, you know, is best characterized by how much it can actually bring out the soul back to its original pure nature of loving God and loving everyone. Okay. So it is said, my dear friend, every saint had a past and every sinner has a future. Yeah, there is hope. All there is in Lord's abode is hope, you know. So
Absolutely.
my one of my teachers, my seniors, he calls that he says that we all are hope engineers. We have to help people, get back hope in their life by connecting with the Lord. So actually, um, I would say that these things which you mentioned, like going for intoxications or illicit affairs and whatever else, these things. Why is a person trying to do all these things? Sometimes a person even understands smoking is not good for me. Even technically speaking, scientifically, it's not good. You know something, Liam, if world stops smoking and world stops drinking liquor, there would be like more than two times the amount of food which is already there on the planet. You'll have to throw foods like in the oceans, even after feeding everyone. Why? Because without tobacco or without liquor, we won't die. Rather, you will have like, you know, millions of acres of farmland free, where currently we are growing all those things, isn't it? You know,
Absolutely.
and if
Absolutely.
you see biologically, like the way ecological cycle is there, to Dr. E.O. Wilson, who is considered one of the fathers of the ecological science. So he says man is the only species who is interrupting the natural flow of or interdependent cycle of other species because he eats so many species unnecessarily. You know, if you see biologically, our body also, like our teeth, our pH level, our small intestines, okay, and everything about our body is similar to herbivorous animals like cows, goats, and others. Whereas the carnivorous animals, they have clearly biologically different body, even the pH level and everything. So studying biologically, studying socially, studying economically, and definitely studying spiritually. Therefore, um, uh, Einstein, Sir Albert Einstein, also he said that when we cause unnecessary pain to animals, it creates pain waves. So if you see from all points of view, actually we are supposed to lead a very natural, pure life, you know. And when will we be able to do that, Liam? It's not a mistake of people that they get into all this, because everyone is looking for love, everyone is looking for fulfillment. That tendency to look for love and fulfillment is not wrong. It's just that we have to look in the better direction, in an alternative direction, and which is that direction, that source is eternal source, which will never become devoid of love, and that source is at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and in loving other beings. When we love other people, we find the greatest joy, and especially when we love them because they are all dear to Supreme Lord. So you ask anybody in this world who's truly done selfless things, he or she will say that was my finest moment of my life. I'll give this example. I often share this example that which are the best moments of anybody's life. You ask you know, any like layman on the street, when we receive selfless love from our mother or father in our childhood, finest moments. And next is when we become parents and offer that selfless love to someone called our kids, isn't it? That's a sheer joy. I've seen people giving up, so many of their comforts and their attachments, and you know, just for the sake of love of their child. Because wherever there is selflessness, our heart finds satisfaction. And God is the ocean of selflessness. Yeah. So, so these things, maybe intoxications or drugs or killing the animals unnecessarily, or whatever else. These are like those dirts. These are not us. These are not those people who are doing. They were just trying to naturally find some fulfillment, some joy, some pleasure. And it's our mistake that we are not able to reach out with the message of the Lord to them. Someone helped us. We should also help others. So it's like that. I hope it makes sense.
It makes so much sense, my friend. You know this all too well because you live it. But I must admit that it makes so much sense because anyone listening to this will have the same observations, even if they've never done any spiritual practice. I mean, like I meditate every day and do practices every day. So you start to realize some of these things. But even if you, as you say, if you stop somebody on the street who's never practiced this and you ask them about these things, they know. I mean, what you said, the selfless love and the love of children, people's happiest moments, unconditional love. But even what you said, I've observed the more selfish people are, the more they do things for themselves, the less happy they are, and you meet some people where they're very, not everyone, but some people who are very materially wealthy and this sort of thing. You said about criminals earlier, people like that, where they think, oh, if I take something from someone, I will be happy. And you can see, whether they get caught or not, you can see their face getting harder and the heart getting harder over time. And then you can see when they change their ways, they start giving, they start contributing, it's softer. So even when I was very young and I didn't know what this was, and I didn't know it was from God, you can still feel it. Like I sit in your presence now, and you can feel the warmth, and it's like I find it quite ironic actually that the sun is setting now, so I have this shadow, this bright light on me because we're in your presence. It is very similar. It's like when the cloud passes and the sun comes through, and with spiritual practitioners of various disciplines, and I'm not saying it's any one faith, you can feel that when they're genuine, and sometimes you sit down with some people, they're not genuine, and you think, okay, it's just not there. This person can't be doing what they say they're doing. So, anyone with common sense can understand this. And this is why when I read one of the first books actually with Krishna, just called Chant and Be Happy, and there's an interview with George Harrison in there of the Beatles, a musician, and he was talking about Krishna and the happiness. And I thought, wow, like, he has everything. And the first time I met a monk, and I was looking at this guy, I was thinking, wow, he has no money, he has no relationship, he has nothing. He's happier than anybody I know. Like, how is that? And obviously, then that starts and I'm not saying to our viewers you have to be a monk because you don't, but accepting the higher power, absolutely being pure. Now, I'll have to go shortly at about 11 your time, my friend. I would
Okay.
like to very briefly discuss one other subject with you, if it's
Yeah,
okay. Uh,
just a minute. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
yes, sorry, yes.
I may just add to, because when you spoke, I had this thought, so I just want to share
Please,
this thing with
please
everyone.
share. I'd love to hear it. Thank you.
Uh, you know, in my last like 40 years or so of life, whatever I had, what I've seen is nobody loves anyone for their accomplishments. Nobody. Till now, I'm yet to find anybody even in the history of this planet.
Mm,
Nobody has loved anyone for their accomplishments. or for their positions, for their power, for their scholarships, or their Ivy League degrees, or for their money. No, they get impressed, they get attracted, they can envy them, which is like indirect appreciation. But nobody loves someone for this. You know what people love? Why people love someone? People love someone for their character, for their qualities, for their values of compassion, for their values of selflessness, for their values of humility, for their values of caring. You know, it may be, you know, big businessmen, politicians, sportsmen, business, or it may be like some famous influencers on social media, or it may be a simple man on the street. One may marry a girl or a boy based on their looks or based on their credit card and debit card. But one love that person only when it discovers the heart, you know, what is the quality of the heart that person has. So this gave me a lot of lesson in my life that I should my life should be a part of solution to this world, not that of a problem, you know, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is why, my friend, as we will close out shortly, but this is why I was so drawn to you because when I see people doing spiritual work and I do these talks as to try and be of service in my own way, but you can also you can't really explain why it's some people and not others, and with yourself, there's a lot, as you were saying there, by the way, there's a lot of lovely accolades that you have and achievements, and it's very nice, but there's just something when I saw your picture on there, I just felt like, okay, there's a real sincerity here. This man really has something to share. I feel we need to connect, and so I just go with the feeling. But it's as you say, it's true in all connections. I mean, it's absolutely true, and I really hope that people remember that truth because, like you, I mean, you've been doing this for decades, and I hope that you will do for decades more to continue to serve people. And people need to realize it. And from my side, I've tried the whole whatever you want to call it, the commercial world, shall we say, and getting things for yourself. And it doesn't work for anybody. And I speak to people with the same thing, and it doesn't work. If someone's wealthy like that and they're giving off service, they're using their money for something, then, as you know, it's a different story. But when it comes to hoarding things, and I'm really glad we talked about that because, as I'm sure you're aware, selflessness is at the core of so many, well, the core of everything. Because I also feel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel in my own life, it's only when you begin to work with selflessness that God can get close to you, if you like, or you can have any access. Some people say they find God, some people say God finds them, which is a chicken and egg scenario. But however you term that access can only be granted through selflessness. So even that in itself, there's so many lessons contained within this today, my friend, that I'm so grateful because I always say that if we awaken even one more person with this work, then our work is done. Now, I believe it will be more than that. Don't get me wrong, I believe, but it will be the right people at the right time, So that was my reason for speaking with you. I know there's so much more we can talk about, but people can get started with this. So I would just like to say such a sincere thank you for your time and for your, I will say, for being such an open book, for sharing so much with myself and with our viewers. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Can I take a last minute of yours to show
Of
you
course
a
you can.
small clip, from our program yesterday? Yeah,
Yes, please. I would love to see.
I would have loved to also share a clip from a program in Stanford University. I just had like 3 or 4 days back in California. I just like to show you this one clip. Can I?
Yes, I would love to see. I would love to see. Absolutely.
So I'm using your screen sharing here.
That's okay.
Mm, so, yeah. So what you see is like Kirtan going on, and these are students from Boston University, and they had this, spiritual holy dancing and chanting with us. So just see their joy. So yeah,
Yes, you can feel the joy from
yeah,
that actually. You can see the joy and hear it, but you can also feel it. So
yeah. One last one I'll show you. So we had a really a very gala time with them, and so there are people from several disciplines, several countries, and you know,
that's remarkable, my friend. And that is in Boston where you are speaking. Okay,
I've been traveling around, like Bay Area in California, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Boston, and now I'm after a couple of days I'm going to Brooklyn, New York, and having similar programs. So that is what is our life: share joy, blissful.
wonderful, wonderful. Oh, well, please let me know if you ever come into any of these in Europe. I'm in Cyprus now. I've been living here for the past year. But also, if you have any in any nearby countries here, please let me know, and I would love to attend and join you guys, and it would be wonderful. And I will also say, so just so I don't forget as well to our viewers, obviously that you are very accessible, I should say, and very easy to contact, reach out to. So I will also say that anyone who wants to get in touch and know more about any of this or follow you, they should do that as well, just so that doesn't slip my mind with everything else. But thank you for that, because what you showed there is a tangible experience of the joy. As I've mentioned, multisensory. You can hear the joy, you can feel it, and obviously you can see it. So yeah, that's a really wonderful illustration. Thank you so much. That's made my day. So thank you very very much, and thank you again so much for your time. I hope that we can keep in touch. If there's any other ways that I can support any of the work that you do, please do let me know, and obviously I will be happy to do so. I will send you this when I release it as well, so that I'd be very grateful for any resharing that you can do. But if there's any other ways I can help, then please let me know, my friend, and we will go.
I would just suggest a couple of books in case anyone wishes to understand more from about the path of the Gita, especially for those in Europe or America. So this is a story of a real life story of a monk. He's my spiritual master. He wrote his autobiography, only like couple of years of his life and the teachings. So there are these two books. They're available. They're the bestsellers on Amazon and many other websites. They're available all over the world in many different languages, very at very affordable rates. In case anyone wishes to have them, this person was born in 1950, December 7th in Chicago, in America. Traveled all across Europe to actually understand the essence of spiritual paths, trying different things out. And then he ended up in Vrindavan, where he got the path of Krishna consciousness. So I'm just sharing it on the chat in case
The
you.
journey home, yes, yes. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm sorry, but that was actually the first book I read actually about this this subject. I have it downstairs. I meant to bring it up to show you. I forgot because I've been such a busy day. But that was actually the first one, yes. And when he describes the journey of um, effectively a type of longing, I will say, in the sense that he wanted to know God, but he didn't know where. And I was looking at that in my own life, where, I've looked into Christianity, and at one point I was going to become a Muslim, and then I decided not to at the last minute. At the moment, I identify as a Buddhist, but it's flexible because even with some of the Krishna topics, and I read that. And I thought, wow, I read it twice, because you read it the first time, you read it again, it's so moving. And that was why today I was inspired to ask you about your search, if you like, and your journey is from the concept of that book. Many people have different traditions, but anyway, that's just crazy. So sorry for interrupting you there, but absolutely wonderful book, The Journey Home. I would highly recommend to anyone listening to this as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you said there's another one, did you? Sorry, and then I'll have to go in just a moment. But
The journey within consists of, like, after coming home to spiritual life, what was the journey within which he had in terms of, rising in the levels of consciousness. So he has shared some of the snippets from his life, as just as raw as they were, and they are just so beautiful. There are stories about parents who had mentally retarded kids. There are stories about a woman who missed her flight to the only solution for her cancer. There are stories about such wonderful people that you'll cry tears of joy, and at the same time ge- get great enlightenment lessons in the concepts of karma or God, emancipation, meditation. Okay, all of the subject matters which we need today in a most easy language. So because he just shared his life, as it is, so therefore it is most relatable. So especially for any Western young people there who are listening to your podcast, I would really request them to go for any or both of these books, and they'll never regret. As you said, you were just amazed.
absolutely, it's wonderful because, as I said earlier, it's such a relatable story as well. That to different people, that really makes spirituality as not a sort of detached, separate thing, but as something that is obviously the experience of day to day life, but also the person going through it. Starting from scratch, as we say, starting from the beginning, not knowing where to go, is wonderful. Thank you again so much. I will have to go. I have one more meeting of the day, and then it's the end of my day. But it has really been a pleasure, and I hope that you appreciate. Even though I'm doing this for others, by the way, and for everyone else, I have unexpectedly experienced a lot of joy and a lot of understanding from this talk as well, which I feel like will have a significant impact. So thank you for that very, very much, my friend. I bid you
Well,
a wonderful day from here, and please do keep me updated on everything that you're doing, and we will proceed from there. Thank you.
namaste, Hare Krishna.
Namaste. Namaste. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.